Spread the Positive podcast. Let's go. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Spread the Positive podcast. I have a very special guest with us today. Her name is Lisa Harless with Regions Bank here in Nashville. Kind of a big deal. She does a lot of big things for the entertainment industry here in Nashville. Is a motivational speaker on a lot of levels and some other stuff. So Lisa, thank you so much for being with us, and we'll just jump right into it.
Well, Trent, I am blessed. I'm honored that you think I'm worthy of being here on Spread the Positive, and I love what you're doing. You're trying to make a difference in this world with this programming and this podcast, and what an honor it is for me to be a part.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And welcome to my bank home.
I love
We're
it.
the Stars Bank
This
here at
is-
Regions Bank.
I feel fancy right now.
Yes.
I definitely feel fancy. Just a little backstory on how I met Lisa. She spoke at a GNAA, Greater Nashville Apartment Association luncheon, and actually said the exact phrase "spread the positive" in her spiel, her presentation during that luncheon. And I was like, man, I got to talk to this lady because she's everything we're about. Obviously, she said spread the positive in it. So went up to her, got to talk to her a little bit, pick her brain on spread the positive and just business and life in general. So I'm really, really excited to have you on, and been looking forward to this a lot.
Well, thank you, Trent. I truly feel blessed. Every minute that I wake up, I just look at the day as a new adventure and opportunity. I've got my calendar of things that are on my to-do list, but then I never know in a day's time if I'm going to get a phone call or a visit from someone here at Regions Bank. And I'm blessed. I'm just glad to share some of my sunshine on a rainy Nashville day with your listeners.
This weather is not ideal. So yeah, little bit of brief history on you. Where are you from? How was childhood? Where did you develop this positive mindset and all that?
Yes. Okay. So I hail from West Tennessee, a small town, Chester County.
Okay.
Henderson, Tennessee, about 80 miles from Memphis. We had two claims to fame. We were the birthplace of the crooner Eddie Arnold, who sold millions of records and ultimately invested in Brentwood, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
And we're also where the original Buford Pusser Walking Tall movies were filmed.
Oh, wow.
About a real sheriff in West Tennessee who enforced the law with a massive club stick. And he would go into bars where there was corruption, and he would use that giant baseball-sized stick and eliminate the corruption with one fell swoop.
Is that the Rock movie, The Walking?
Well, that's a remake, yes. And there was
Man.
a first one that was made that was,
about that guy?
About that guy.
Man, that's
Sheriff
really cool.
Buford Pusser from Chester County.
Now we know.
So that's where I'm from.
Cool.
My dad is, he's a retired minister, and he taught at a Christian liberal arts school there in West Tennessee. Okay. My mom was a full-time homemaker to the 5 kids, and it was almost a Norman Rockwell childhood. Wow. I remember growing up in this small town. We could go forever on our bikes, play with the neighbors' kids. I made the front page of our Chester County Independent paper because I sold 829 boxes of Girl Scout cookies one year. Fist bump from Trent.
Yes.
I love that.
Real nice.
And here people say, how in the world did you do that? And because now you've got some of the girls that'll park in the Kroger parking lots and that kind of thing. But I would get my pre-orders from the people. And then I thought, well, if Trent wants Thin Mints, once he finishes that box, I bet he's going to want 2 or 3 more. And I would order up, and then after I had given my clients a few days to finish that one box of cookies, I rolled back around with my little red wagon, and I said, guess what?
I got more.
You can get a refill from me right here.
Wow.
But so I had a great childhood.
That's awesome.
Had childhood jobs, making money. My brother Kel and I were very industrious. We had neighbors that had a little printing business in a garage.
Wow.
We had another fellow faculty member. He and his wife owned a gas station and a car wash and a laundromat. And I remember my brother and I said, well, we can clean that laundromat This is as
early on.
This is a preteen.
Wow.
But I love the ability to have to be able to make money, and then sadly I would spend a lot at Miller's Big Star on candy.
Hey, that's
those massive pixie sticks.
That's quite all right.
Yeah,
back then especially.
Yes,
right?
my dentist can attest that I loved my sugar, and I'm trying to do better about that. But I guess the point I'm making is that even as a child in this rural West Tennessee town, I was motivated to, if there was something I wanted to buy, I loved the fact that I could use my ability, my talents, whatever they were, my hard work, my responsible nature, and make money.
That's incredible.
So that's where I was up until 1978. My father got an opportunity to teach at his alma mater, which was Lipscomb University.
Nice.
And to teach and preach for one of the churches here in Nashville. My entire family moved to Nashville in '78, and I haven't looked back.
Nice.
And people say, why did you not go back to your small hometown? Trent,
Nashville.
there were three things that changed me forever, and I said, I can't go back. As much as I loved living there, but one, going to a movie theater where I could pick between 3 movies, this is 1978, going to a mall with an escalator, that was 100 Oaks Mall, and going to Houston's restaurant, because our little town didn't have restaurants.
Done deal.
And I thought,
sold.
Yeah, I'm sold. I am now what you call a Nashvilleian.
That's what's up. That's awesome.
So, and I guess another point there is that I loved where I was at the time. I had a former boss that used the phrase "bloom where you're planted," and you know that's a whole lot of truth to whatever you are, wherever you are, whatever situation you're in. Strive to excel. Be the best you. It may not be the dream job. It may not be the dream situation, but make it the best that you can. Control the controllables, but my childhood involved things like being in 4-H and being in public speaking contests as a 5th, 6th, 7th grader. Being in the, I won a dairy contest, and it's funny now because I don't eat much dairy, but I helped create a recipe, and I won a mixer, but I always wanted to not only do what was expected, but I had that oomph in me to go above and beyond.
Do you know where you got that from, or can you tie that back to something? Or?
Yes, I think a whole lot for me was the family environment and great education in our public school system. We had great teachers who were very dedicated to us, passionate. And my mom was by my side every time I needed to make a poster for the 4-H contest. Every time I needed to practice before giving a speech at a 4-H contest. Every time I tried to enter the biscuit and cornbread muffin baking contest, she was there.
You can definitely relate to that. My mom was the same way, so shout out to moms. Shout out to all the moms. And you know, for folks that may be from a broken home or may not be blessed to have the same parents, there are kids that we can all impact. There's organizations like Best Buddies, there's Big Brothers, Big Sisters. There are children out there that we can become involved with their lives, and I would encourage that. I'm not a parent myself, but between my husband and me, now are you ready? I was going to say, are you seated? I am ready.
Yes.
I am ready.
So we have 57 nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews.
Wow.
So when I'm not Banker Lisa, I am Aunt Lisa.
That's awesome.
So, honey, I can talk with you about Disney, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, Minecraft, and Super Mario.
Wow, that's an extensive lineup.
I can bring my Aunt Lisa knowledge.
That's awesome. So you spoke about one of your nephews that you're real close to and do a lot of.
My nephew Jude.
Jude, that's right.
Who goes to Julia Green Elementary, 3rd grade here in Nashville.
And I really remember that from your conversation about how you focus on putting that positivity in Jude on the regular, and if you could just speak on that some.
Yes, it's just, and I told the story about how we were at Panda Express, one of his favorite kids' meal locations, and we got our fortune at the end of the meal, and it said, your glass is half full.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
that's
you and I know this phrase. We've heard it all of our life.
Right.
But you can imagine to a third grader, they're like, what do you mean my glass is half full? How do they even know what I'm drinking? How do they even know I have a drink here at Panda Express?
Yeah, that's creepy.
Right. Is there a camera? There are cameras. And so I started explaining to him what that meant was when you, and I had a real glass, and actually he was drinking his root beer, and so we drank it down to about halfway. I said, now, Jude, is that glass, is that cup, is it half full or half empty? And he looked at it like, he goes, now, wait a minute.
Trick question?
Is this a trick question? And from a third grader, I totally got his perspective. And then we started talking to him about what positivity means, and that how we look at things that happen, it can impact how we deal with that moment and how we deal with life in general. And we started, I don't even think I gave this example, but we started talking about things, halves and whatnot. He said, so, for instance, if somebody had a worm and it was broken in half, they might say, oh, bummer, I've got a broken worm. And I said, but do you know what the optimist, positive person says? It says, oh, man, you know what? We're going fishing, and you can actually use half a worm for your bait on your hook. So guess what? We've got one worm, but that created enough bait for 2 of our hooks, so we can both fish.
I love that.
So just a simple thing, and when we start sharing these kind of perspectives with our children who are our future, it's amazing how it impacts their perspective.
Yeah.
Another example that I gave is during the holidays, we visited our local fire station. We baked cookies. I had Jude and his cousin Ruby draw pictures thanking the firemen for being there. We delivered them to the fire hall. We got a quick lesson about fire safety. We learned that the average fire engine can carry 500 gallons of water. We learned that then when they're near a burning home, they'll connect to the fire hydrant. So the way we turned that experience around is I started talking, instead of being afraid of fire and being fearful of the unknown.
That's how it originated?
Or, yeah, and a lot of kids and adults have, we're in a fearful time. We just had another horrific school shooting, and fear is now an emotion that's more paramount than when I was in high school or elementary school. So I was able to talk about, is this not incredible that these firemen are just here at the fire hall waiting for the phone to ring, waiting for the call so they can dash to a home that might have a fire or a car that's on fire and put it out. And now, as I was driving him home that afternoon, we looked at the fire hydrants. And what, before you might not have even noticed,
Zero clue.
we were like, oh my goodness, so that fire hydrant, look, Jude, there's one close to my house, there's one close to your house. Is that not incredible that if we have a fire, the firemen will come in their engine that already has 500 gallons of water on there, and then hook up to their hydrant and be able to save our house, save our lives.
It's big time.
This is incredible. So I just encourage all of those that are around kids, grandkids, neighbors, kids at school, don't underestimate your influential power to change their perspective. So we're leaving Panda Express, and I see a cop out in the parking lot. And what did I say? I didn't say, oh my goodness, I hope I don't get a ticket. I hope my tags haven't expired. Ooh, I hope he didn't think I was speeding. No. I said, Jude, isn't this awesome? That policeman is just kind of circling to make sure nobody needs his help.
That's cool.
How blessed we are. We live in a country where we've got people like firemen and policemen that have got our back. They're just on call if we need them.
Absolutely. It's awesome. I love it. And you're 100% right with the influence on not just kids, but anybody. Like
on adults.
Yeah, anybody.
Exactly.
It's easy to lose sight of how the smaller gestures can go really far.
Right.
So you spoke on that too, and I just think that's big time.
And one of the phrases that my mom and I both use is just in life is just put it out there. Putting positive, affirming actions proactively you know, the first thing I do when I walk into our building here at Regions Bank in the Roundabout Plaza in Nashville is I greet our security guard, Bob, by name.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they say the sweetest sound that anyone has is the sound of their own name being spoken. And one, I'm acknowledging someone who is there to protect our building. But two, I've taken the time, and we have transitioned among that position. I've taken the time to make sure I know that the day security guard, the evening security guard, the sweet gentleman who is out in the booth where the ticketing of the parking validations occur, how important it is for us to know the people we're dealing with. It may be our neighbors. It may be the person at the dry cleaners. Of course, nowadays, all of our great clothes, a lot of them don't need to be dry cleaned. So
that's awesome.
A lot of folks are going, what is she talking about? Or maybe it's the person at the post office or the Verizon store or wherever you do trade and do business. Know those folks by name and greet them by name.
That's huge. I could not agree more. Just acknowledging strangers. Like, you don't have to know them by name, but just acknowledging that they're there, that you see them, that you appreciate what they're doing. That's big.
Yes.
Yeah, so I definitely like
one
that
of
a lot.
one of the I guess keys to my positivity is I wake up and go to bed at night counting my blessings. Gratitude, an attitude of gratitude.
Absolutely.
And you know, if you have your health, you are far surpassing what so many people are dealing with right now. And that I try to do at least one proactive act of kindness to someone every day. Every day. And that may be a greeting card to someone that's sick. It may be a birthday card. It may be just thinking about you. And here's one thing I'd love to mention is there are so many people in our world who are dealing with some form of cancer. I serve on the T.J. Martell Foundation, which is raising money for cancer research. And maybe I'm unusually mindful of the cancer patients and what they're dealing with, but I think a lot of times people go, yeah, you know, I know my buddy was just diagnosed with prostate cancer or early stage lung cancer, but dude, I don't know what to say, and I don't want to say the wrong thing. And guess what happens, Trent?
They don't say anything.
You don't say anything at all.
Yep.
And what a missed opportunity. So I have found that, one, you can go to some of these dollar-type retailers and get some basic cards with no message inside, 10 for $1. All right, we're talking a 10-cent positive gesture, 10 cent. Now the stamp, that could be another, 48 or
That's
something like that. Yes, but I'm telling you, in this day of texting and emailing, to get a handwritten note that has been written and mailed is huge. That is a moment someone's going to remember. And so for the folks that go, oh, I'm not prolific, oh, I could never write a Hallmark type greeting. Let me tell you all you have to say, Trent. You just say, let's just say it's you that's going through something, and just say, Trent, I know you're going through this challenging time. I'm so sorry you're having to deal with that. I'm thinking about you, Lisa. That's all you say. And I'll repeat that for folks that, again, you can just, with whatever they're dealing with, it could be a divorce. It could be a job loss. It could be illness. It could be a child who is having some real addiction issues and maybe in treatment. That note, again, can just say, I know you are going through this tough, challenging time. I am so sorry. Please know I'm thinking about you.
That does go so far, so far.
Yes, and something else that I've learned, and I think my mom had shared this with me, is some people have the tendency, like when someone is grieving the loss of a loved one or someone's going through cancer, some people may have the tendency to say, I know exactly how you feel.
I'll say that. Sorry.
Yes, that's actually not something that's recommended to say, because you know what? Everybody's situation, everybody's grief, everybody's illness, it's special and unique to them.
100%.
So even if I have lost, and I'm so blessed to still have my parents, still have my 4 siblings. We have lost some close family members. But even though I've been through some deep grief, I would not say I know exactly how you feel. And your intent, the people's intent is solid because they've lost a parent, and so they like, I know. But it's best served if we can just say, I am so sorry you're going through this tough time. I'm thinking about you. But do a random act of kindness. One of my little secrets to how I keep this attitude is within our home, I've got some little placards. Now, they're not on every wall, but there's one in our kitchen that says, there is no act of kindness that is too small. Man. And I think Aesop said that. Yep. So, who's a great philosopher. So, you know, it's so funny here at the bank, we have these green apple suckers that we keep in the lobby for our guests. Right. Well, I always have 3 or 4 of those in my purse, and I don't care if I'm at a valet, at a great restaurant. Of course, I'm still going to tip cash, but I will say, oh, I have you a treat. It's amazing how just a piece of candy can be impactful for someone that might be having an otherwise average day. Yep. I was shopping at a major retailer in Nashville over the holidays, checking out the end of the year clearance, 70% off, and I had a couple of the green apple suckers that I gave one of the ladies, and she goes, oh, do you work at the bank? And I said, yes. The next thing I know, she's introducing me to someone in a different department who's assisting, and she introduces me, this is Lisa. She's a Regions ambassador. Wow. And I'm like, wow, I'm building this brand, and really it was the sucker that had an impact. So that's awesome. There's a lot of people say, well, yeah, I'd like to be thoughtful, but unfortunately I don't have a big budget. It doesn't cost much to be thoughtful. It can cost zero if, to your point, you can speak to a stranger. You can smile at someone, and you never know that them having a rough day, your smile, you're speaking to them may have made the difference in the direction their day turns. Absolutely. So never underestimate the power of any good deed. Any good deed. It can be little, Trent.
I could not agree more on, yes, 100%. We have a thing we're working towards with Spread the Positive called Rack 'em Up, speaking of random
acts. Rack 'em Up. I love that.
Yeah, random acts of kindness, RAKEMUP. Yes. Rack 'em Up. About the end goal, we're still trying to put it all together, obviously, but the end goal is to like reward people for doing that. Right. Like, why? I mean, knock on wood, or I don't. You can steal my idea. I don't even care. Like, if it's out there, I want it to be happening. So, like, there's not much. The closest thing I found to it is, which is actually really similar to what we were kind of aiming for, is a new social platform called Veeam. It's pretty cool. I heard it on a Gary Vee podcast talking about. It's just about people sharing, and basically they get rewarded. Like they work towards a $25 Amazon card for just sharing.
That's like, very cool.
I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Yes. Well, think about it, as kids, they're rewarded for cleaning their room, helping take out the trash, folding the clothes. They might get kind of a weekly allowance. Well, that's the reward system. I mean, and it worked then, and it still.
I'm saying, we're really hoping to push that sooner than later, with Instagram, or just submitting a story, just something you've done, and you get into a drawing, get a prize.
Well, I'll tell you something that I can do right now in this podcast. For the first 5 people who will send me an email that heard this podcast and tell me the last person you sent a card to. Okay. It could be a parent, a friend, a child. It could have been a card for any occasion. Birthday, Christmas, Valentine's. The first 5 people, if they'll send me an email to lisa.harless@regions.com, that's LISA.HARLESS@REGIONS.com. I will send them a Regions guitar pick. Wow. Medium weight. It's a very cool tortoise shell green. Nice. Cool. So it's a small thing, but I just want to spread the love.
I like it. We'll
And they do have a
double
retail.
check that. We'll have to double check you're okay with giving your email out.
Yes.
But yeah, that's really cool. We'll definitely look into that. I like it a lot.
It's the first 5.
Yes, coming in hot. First 5. Lisa Harless at Regions.com.
Yes,
I love
Lisa.Harless at Regions.com.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I've given these pics to some of the biggest names in show business.
Yeah.
Whether I'm at the Grammy Awards, at the CMA Awards, I will always have my party bag and with a business card, lipstick,
right,
powder puff, and guitar picks.
The bag of the essentials. I love it.
Yes.
Man,
yes.
Speaking on that stuff, I just kind of want to make light. Like this is what positivity can get you to. Like the position you're in is pretty commendable. Like you do big things. Just name drop the Grammys. Like the Fleetwood Mac stuff you were talking about with me earlier. Like you do big things, and like I think that's a testament to your optimism and your positivity and your outlook on life. And that's the whole thing with Spread the Positive, is to put that out there and just kind of as a reminder that it's possible. And and I don't want to take anything away from what you've done, but I'm pretty confident you wouldn't have been able to get where you are without those. Is that pretty accurate?
I would absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to be celebrating my 35th year anniversary with Regions Bank.
Wow.
And I am so blessed, due to confidentiality, I can't roll out names, but, I am the banker for some of the biggest country music artists, some of the country's top songwriters, legendary people who are in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. These are folks that I help with their banking needs.
That's so cool.
And part of my job is to represent our company at the Grammy Awards and have been a board member of the Recording Academy. And I am very blessed. The attitude is tremendously important because every day it may be I'm diffusing a very sensitive client situation where something hasn't worked properly with their banking, or I'm responding to an opportunity for a loan request or a deposit account. How we communicate will drive our success in business, no doubt. And I'm referring whether it's verbal, face-to-face, whether it's an email. We all probably know people or have worked with people who, let's take email for instance, and maybe they think, what a great opportunity to vent or to go off on someone. And we may be talking about a fellow colleague. This is kind of a rule of thumb that, and right now, if you look at recent lawsuits that have been in the press, whether it's been with governmental officials, whether it's been with movie stars and that kind of thing, where people are bringing up handwritten notes or letters or emails that have surfaced. I tell you, here is a rule of thumb that will make you really think before you put something in an email is, would I be okay if this paragraph or sentence or word was published on the front of my daily newspaper?
No kidding. Yep.
Now, if you think about that, and so when I craft an email, and I've always done this because when you work for an employee, that email communication is technically the property of your employer, right? I think a lot of people forget that.
Really quickly.
Really quickly.
Like they'll get fired up over something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I just can't encourage you enough. In your email crafting, be professional, be thoughtful. You can still show personality, but I would say if you're wanting to have a 35-year career with a fine company like our bank, you're not going to be using profanity. You're not going to be demeaning your fellow employees.
No matter how bad it gets, you got to be smart about it.
Right. And part of my success is not only how I treat the external clients, but it's how I interface with my internal clients. And we all know people that they feel like the best way to get results is through intimidation, yelling, fault finding. Well,
dragging people down.
Putting them down. What I find, I get the best results by first commending or bringing them up. I'll give you a case in point, something that I'm working on right this minute. We've mentioned my nephew Jude. He lives on a side street in a part of Nashville, a great part of Nashville, but there are speeding cars on this narrow street where there are a lot of boys playing football, little girls on their bikes. And so instead of calling up Metro Public Works here in Nashville and blasting them about the drivers, do you know what the first thing I did in my submission, because there's an online process for doing this, I thanked them for the great job they're doing repairing the potholes on Nashville streets after some recent rains. All right, so I'm giving positive thank yous for work that they have done to protect our streets, which protects the drivers. Then, in a very professional way, I'm voicing my concern. And down the street, they have installed some of the raised white. It's not a true speed bump, but it's a speed reducer. So the first thing I did is said, we are so excited that in the 3700 block of this street, there have been some of the speed reducers installed. Thank you for that action. My request is for us to now look at the activity in the 3800 block where the cars are coming down a hill. There's a cut-through area where we're seeing some increased speeding. So I guess the point of all this is, one, first I'm finding the positive. I'm thanking them for that. And then in a very professional, calm, non-screaming, non-threatening, non-confrontational way,
just asking.
I'm asking,
Mm-hmm.
could we take a look at this?
Yes.
And how much more effective, and I know this approach works because it has worked for me for 35 years.
Isn't that, there's something like sandwiching? Isn't that called sandwiching or something?
Probably.
Like you say, do something nice, or you say something nice, and you
Yes.
bring up your point, and then you end with something nice.
Right.
So you just kind of sandwich
Yes.
the
Yes, think
it's not
of it
even
like
a
an
negative.
Oreo.
Yeah, it's not even a negative. It's just a, like, what you're requesting. I mean,
Right.
and people will take that as, if it's not done the right way. So
And so
that's
some of
great
your
stuff.
podcast listeners, if they're going, well, now, she is full of that. I mean, that's ridiculous. I'm just saying, Trent here has asked what has worked for me. And it's true. It's also the polite thing to do. How much better when I have clients coming to me and maybe they're trying to inquire about if a fee can be rebated, how much receptive am I to the one who first says, who makes conversation, how are you doing? How's your family? That it's a softer entry than the one, and I mean, I get both types all the time, than the one that just says, I want this fee refunded and I want this refunded today. I mean, it's not even a request. It's a demand. I respond better to requests.
We all do. I don't know how we got, or I do. It's frustrating to think like how it's gotten that far away, or how it's it's so drastic nowadays with that stuff, because it's pretty basic. A little consideration, just trying to be respectful of what they're going. I mean, on this last podcast, Corey Akers says, Corey with CrossFit Rampage in Murfreesboro said,
he did a great job.
Did
I
you
loved
hear
it. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I love your podcast.
He's a great guy. He's awesome. I really enjoyed that one. But he was like talking about, it always comes down to miscommunication, and it's usually so small what you missed that blew up into something so big that it's hard at times, but it's so necessary, like all the time, to like step back. And I'm the first one many times when I don't do this, sports related things on the golf course, and sometimes on Facebook, like, sometimes the fingers get to flying before you even know it happens. So I'll respond on that too with Facebook. Yes, America, we have freedom of speech. We can write, we can say, we're blessed with freedom of speech. Well, guess what? You exercise some freedom and put out a lot of negative energy and negative comments, more than likely you're going to create that kind of sphere of energy around you. And you've got to know too, those type comments are out there for the public to see. So if you're going to apply for a job,
an HR person, one of the first things they'll do is check out your social media, because they're hiring you, the person. They're not just hiring you because you can handle the skill set needed for that job, say it's IT or whatever, but you're being hired, your person, your entirety, your personality, all of that is being hired. And if all of a sudden they see that your way of commenting about the government or about taxes or about guns or whatever, if you are a violently worded person that's quick to react, again, you have that right. You are an American, but the ramifications are a future employer may choose not to hire you, even though you're skilled. They may say, you know what, this guy, technically, he passed every one of these tests, but on the personality, we're a little concerned that there could be a trouble at work because he tends to fly off the handle. He tends to be very vocal. He tends to not be able to control emotions.
100%.
I've spoken to several high school groups around Nashville, and some of the ones that are in the lower income areas, and so they have totally different pressures, whether it's the tats, the tattoos, the gangs, the guns, that kind of thing. And I said, yeah, your body is your body. And I'm in the music business. So a lot of my guys, they've got ink from head to toe, and they look fantastic. But I'm speaking to, and when you're in the music industry, you know, you can get away with a lot as far as the piercings and the tattoos and all of that. And I am not anti-piercing. I'm not anti-tattoo. I'm speaking to the 18-year-old kid or 17-year-old who's wanting that summer job. And they're competing with 20 other kids that are wanting the same summer job. And so the young man that goes, and maybe he's trying to get a fast food job. And the one that shows up with some pretty defiant words inked into his neck and down his arms with multiple piercings, you put that particular child up against another one who maybe he's got some ink, some tattoos, but they're kind of concealed.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say they're under, they're under his shirt. And I can just tell you, as someone who's been with a corporate America type job, that second guy is going to get a preferred look just for appearance.
I know. I mean, it's maybe not fair in a way, but it is what it is. Like, you can't really get away from that.
And so the podcast listeners like, that girl, that's not fair. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover. And again, I'm saying, I know.
You're just pointing out what's accurate.
It doesn't seem fair. It shouldn't be fair, but that's the reality, is because someone is drawing judgment, making impressions based on
business, which is different. Yeah, that's when it's different. If you're just like, if you're not nice to someone because they got some tats or something, that's different. And totally not okay.
And again, I am not anti-tattoo or piercings or any of that. I'm just saying,
strategic.
Just be strategic and think about what your employment path is. And I'm just saying, if you want to be a banker or someone in a conservative type industry, you best conceal the tattoos.
Be professional. Yeah, that's everything.
Be professional.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so one of the big segments, you spoke on some of this already, but just in general, in the world and just locally in your life, and it sounds kind of generic, but what's going right? What do you think are things that are working towards a general better planet Earth, so to speak? So speak on that, please.
Well, people like you that are taking time out of your work day, as I am, to go, you know what, we need to share some things that are working for us. How can we, just you and I right now, with an hour of time, how can we touch some lives? So people like you that want to spread positive. I think about, and a big part of my success are the nonprofits and the charity work that I've been involved with. There's no one that can say, well, I'd like to kind of get involved in my community, but there's really nothing to do.
Yeah, right.
There is something to do.
I just laughed hard.
Yes, you can volunteer most anywhere, whether it's driving a meal to a senior with Meals on Wheels, just going to a nursing home or an assisted living center and saying, you know what, I would just like to be here to, are any of your seniors lonely? Would they like someone to play checkers with them or just talk with them? Organizations, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, everyone is looking for volunteers. Hospitals.
I got to shout out one of my favorite right now is Endure Athletics out of Murfreesboro.
Okay,
he was podcast number 2, Joel Bigelow and his family.
Yes.
They're doing some incredible stuff. Tomorrow morning is their Saturday thing that I look forward to all week. Super fired up about that. So shout out Endure Athletics, doing big things. I'd like to speak on this again. Just with the way Joel drove by these notorious
lower income areas.
Well,
right?
it was hotels.
Oh, hotels. Okay.
Notorious for sex offenders and just all the bad stuff you can imagine. Has been an issue in Murfreesboro for years, been brought up multiple times, and nothing's really been done about it. Some stuff, but so Joel's
is about 30 miles from Nashville for your listeners who aren't from Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly. So Joel was driving to his manufacturing plant job for years and saw these hotels, saw these kids at like bus stops, and he saw that problem. And, like you just said, a lot of us will be like, I can't do anything about that. And instead of that, Joel dove in and, it started so small, but kind of like we spread the positive too.
The power of one, the power of Joel.
Yeah. Yes. So it's like, I brought it up in the podcast. I was like, it's so refreshing to see someone that identified such a, large problem. Like there's 1,200 kids in Rutherford County that are technically homeless and living.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really sad.
And so what does his mission do?
They serve that population through after school. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday at a church in Murfreesboro, and then on Saturdays they have like pickup games in the morning.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's so awesome. It's
wonderful.
I can't say enough good stuff about that organization.
There is opportunity everywhere.
Absolutely.
And there is need everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
That's perfect. That was a great tie-in. So kind of wrapping up, I know we're both kind of getting over the time limit a little.
That's because I have so many thoughts.
I know. I'm loving it. Really loving it. So the first person you think of, I know you had these questions ahead of time. Spoiler alert for the audience. Yes. But first person you think of when you hear Spread the Positive and what we're trying to do.
My mother, Linda Holland, lives right here in Nashville. Is Mimi to many. She's mother and mom to me. But I have seen an outpouring of love, generosity, thoughtfulness. She is the benchmark. Man, so I just want to be like my mom, Linda Holland.
Man, that's awesome.
She touches lives every day. She is not afraid to get down into the dirty with folks that are dealing with tough times. And she's a great listener. Yeah. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And she can listen, and she is a giver. Yep. She looks for ways to serve. She is my role model.
That's such a good answer.
Notice I didn't hesitate.
No, not one bit. I love that.
And one thing I want to add, because I think I know the last question we'll mention, is I'm really big on networking and connecting people. One of the reasons I'm successful is that when I'm introducing, let's say you, Trent, as I did a little bit ago, to one of my clients, really top studio musician, I could pretty much give his elevator speech, his brief bio. Yeah. And plus I know what you did. Yeah. And versus
awesome.
You having to say, here's my name, here's what I do. I was able to kind of sell you guys to each other, and many times my clients will say, yeah, meet Lisa. She's my publicist. Well,
that's real, awesome.
We should all be each other's publicists.
100%.
Because you're not going to go, yeah, I'm pretty cool because, I've got a podcast and I'm trying to be an entrepreneur with this and change the world. But I can say that about you.
Right.
And build people up. Take every moment when you're making introductions to sell people. Bring out their positive attributes. I'm going to answer your last question, and then I'll end it with a little saying.
Okay, yeah, getting to it. Grateful for. This is going on a 3rd or 4th episode with this. Just the 4 things you're most grateful for right now.
Yes. So the faith that sustains me. That when I wake up, I'm thanking God for my blessings. And when I'm lying down, I'm thanking God for my blessings and going over my prayer list of who's dealing with things that need help. Secondly is my family. I am blessed with an amazingly supportive husband, Winston. I'm blessed to still have my parents who are in their 80s. I've got there's 5 kids, 4 siblings, 57 nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews.
That's unbelievable.
Most of them live in Nashville. I am blessed beyond measure. And then finally blessed to have this career, this job, these associates, these clients. I don't take a minute of it for granted. I wake up stoked, and I know there's going to be challenges, but I just view those as opportunities to get issues resolved and to make a difference.
Absolutely.
Damn, and so awesome. I ended my presentation at the event you and I met with a quote from Uncle Ben's quote book, and I'd like to kind of wrap it with this. But because there is so much power in the infectious power of optimism.
Yes.
When you're around someone that's happy and optimistic and power and on a positive vibe, you can't help but let some of that get in you. And I'll have people email me like, hey, I haven't seen you in a few months. I need my Lisa fix.
I have people like that.
A Lisa fix. Or they need their Trent fix. Well, that's because they know when they're around you, you're not going to be fussing about the weather. You're not going to be fussing about things you can't control. You're not going to be downing the government. You're not going to be downing you're just...
You're uplifting,
You're going to be uplifting. That's not to say you're not in touch with reality.
Exactly.
I'm very in touch with reality. My heart is breaking for the folks at that high school in Florida. But I've got to pick up my feet. I've got to be back at work. I've got to keep my chin up. I can't live in fear. I've got to be smart.
Yep.
But the whole point of this is that our personalities, how we approach the day, is infectious, and it will spread. And we've got the positive spread here. But this particular quote that I learned goes something like this: "It's a funny thing, but true. The folks you don't like, well, they don't like you. And I don't know why this should be so, but just the same, I always know that when I'm sour, friends are few. But when I'm friendly, folks are too. Oh, sometimes I get up in the morning wishing I was never born. I make some cross remarks, a few, and then my family wishes too that I'd gone some other place. But then I change my little tune. I sing and smile, and then the folks around me sing and smile. I guess it was catching all the while, but the folks you like sure like you."
Nice. Man, that's so good. So
do I hear an amen, Trent?
Yes, ma'am. 100%.
We got an amen and a high five.
Yep,
I believe.
absolutely.
And I believe that. I live
too.
that.
I do that.
I live that.
I try to as well as I can as well. That was awesome. Just can't say thanks enough. This has been really awesome. You had some really great stuff. Gems, just all of it. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for what you do.
Yes, thank you for what you're doing. I'm honored.
Yeah,
and the first five
those first 5, we're gonna get y'all some
email me.
picks.
You'll get a Regions guitar pick. I'll need your mailing address so I can mail them back to you.
We'll make that happen. That's awesome. Thanks so much, Lisa.
My
Until
pleasure.
next time. Big thank you again to Lisa for being on the podcast with us. She is a really amazing human being in general. Really enjoyed my time with her and look forward to future endeavors and collaborative efforts with her, potentially Regents, potentially all the other stuff she does. It was a good day for all of this stuff in the STP world. So we really appreciate it. Thank you, Lisa. As always, looking for guests, looking for collaborative efforts, looking for engagements, looking for anything out there that is an example of what's going right and something that you think is spreading positivity. If you got anything for us, please feel free to reach out on any of our social media. The website's up as well. Spreadthepositive.net. Log on and check out the podcast. This is going to be episode 6. Kind of crazy. Kind of coming together. Little momentum, little support. So yeah, we're feeling it. We're feeling good. Really appreciate everybody that's been involved up until this point, and everybody trying to be involved moving forward. So thank you for that, and thank you for all y'all do to spread the positive.